Welcome to Epic Screen Time, where we are three friends to discuss the things that occupy our screens. So grab your remote, popcorn, and controller, and let's go. Today, I am Garrett, as I am every day, but I'm joined by my co-host Carter. Sam is doing daddy duty, and we're also joined by my beautiful bride, Allie. Today's episode is about Memorial Day, specifically Memorial Day movies that are based off real life, real true stories that have been turned into Hollywood items. But before that, we have two drinks today. Our first one is a mocktail with strawberry puree, fresh lime juice, orange juice, and pomegranate juice float. Hallie, you want to hold it up to the camera for us? For those of you that are listening, as always, it is on the show notes. And then our actual cocktail is bourbon, Contral, fresh lemon juice, and a plum liqueur with a hot honey syrup. The hot honey syrup is 1 part cinnamon, 1 part star anise, 1 part honey, hot honey, and
it's
water.
Like the Mike's hot honey.
Yeah. It's Mike's hot honey. I cheated.
That's good.
So
the hot honey syrup is like
the
really
hot
good.
honey is really good.
It's really good.
Yes,
it hits you just
it's
a little bit on the tongue.
Sweet and hot. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Okay. And just for funsies, I added a little bit of gold luster dust to my drink, and so it looks really fun.
I took a video of that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You can add it to like your, I don't know, if you do like a
Instagram
post or whatever.
Ooh, yeah. Hey,
yeah, maybe do an Instagram post.
If anybody wants to do some free Instagram work, we're always looking, always looking. So to get ready for this episode, I had everyone do an ASVAB. You might want to stir yours. Allie, you might want to stir your drink.
Oh, stir my drink?
Yeah, so that way it blends everything together.
I'll grab a stir.
Which I do have a confession. Kaylee helped me on the word part, and I saw that you could take a timed or untimed version.
We did untimed.
Okay.
That's why I didn't tell you to do it.
So I did untimed.
Okay,
And I saw that the timed version was only 20 minutes. It took me a lot longer than 20 minutes. I'm like, if I had to do this in 20 minutes, it would have been so bad.
So the first time I did it with a 15-minute time frame.
Yeah, and he didn't get through most of it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I did the untimed one, and he was like, oh, okay, cool.
Because our scores were drastically
That's why you scored a lot better.
I had a 44, and I was like, no. Because I didn't think it would give you zeros for...
if you
didn't do it, it just gives you a 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in an effort to find this, I did learn a couple things. One, how is that, by the way?
It's really good.
That's a change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
it's really good.
Okay.
It's like not too sweet. I think last time you made it, it was a little.
There was 2 ounces of strawberry puree last time. This time I only did 1. I also added an elderflower tonic water.
Yeah.
So that gives you a little bit more floral.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not too.
And there's
floral.
also a lot more pomegranate juice.
Yeah.
So
good.
Cool.
I liked it.
Yeah, as you can tell, Hallie doesn't like alcohol. And so I make mocktails, and all of hers are complete random, whatever I have in the fridge. And so she gets
usually
to
works
try.
out pretty well.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty good. But yeah, so the ASVAB typically covers like mathematics, engineering, word comprehension, mathematics comprehension, arithmetic, reasoning, and
like definitions of words.
And engineering. Well, there's 2 parts in the practice that we didn't do, and that's the engineering and mechanical. Which
I would have been terrible.
So, and to give kind of an understanding, the ASVAB has a top score of 99. Like it's based off percentile.
Okay.
So it's like 99th percentile, whatever.
So I don't feel as bad about score now.
So,
okay.
We'll start with Hallie. Hallie, you got an 87.
Let's go.
With 2 missed on the word acknowledgement, 3 missed on the arithmetic reasoning, and 1 missed on the mathematic knowledge. Carter, you got a 77.
Okay.
With 1 missed on the word knowledge, 5 missed on the arithmetic reasoning, and 4 missed. Good God. On the mathematic knowledge. And I got an 87 with 1 missed on arithmetic reasoning and 4 missed on mathematic knowledge. Now, I should state that this is designed for people coming right out of high school where all the algebra is fresh in your brain. That's not us.
Well, I did have to study for the GRE last year, and I thought I was going to have to take it, and then I didn't have to take it, so I studied all this shit for nothing. Sorry, am I allowed to?
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You can swear.
And so the GRE math is kind of they do some algebra and stuff, so that was like a little fresher.
Yeah.
The other stuff I was like,
no, there was stuff that I was looking at going, man, I remember learning this in high school and I haven't looked at it since then.
And there's always like a trick to it
yes.
too. And it makes no sense. And you're like, okay, well.
Yeah. Did
whatever.
you use pen and paper or did you just guess?
Pen and paper. And then it was, okay, I don't know what this one is.
I could like narrow it down to like 2. And then I was like, eeny, meeny, mo.
Yes. There was one of the questions was a foil question. Like you had to do first, outside, inside, last. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't done this.
Like brackets. And it's like.
Yep.
And
I was like, I haven't done this since 10th grade. Actually, before we continue on, I have a gift for you. Actually, 2 gifts technically. I got some hats made for us. With can I borrow one so I can show it to the camera?
Awesome. Yes.
I'll put pictures up there, but we don't have merch. We won't have merch for a long time. But I needed a new hat, and I really like the leather patch.
I love the leather patch and just the logo. Oh, it looks
and like the logo's so subtle, but it looks really good.
This is clean.
Yeah. And so whenever we do merch, if we ever do merch, but no, I needed to order hats, and if I bought 6, it cost me the same as 3.
Okay.
So that it had like a deal going. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll do 6. And so I dropped Sam's off earlier.
Nice.
But yeah, man. So we all genuinely wear hats. So I figured I'd drop it off.
I have a hat to wear now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
So for this episode, we watched American Sniper, 13 Hours Benghazi, Hacksaw Ridge, Zero Dark 30, and possibly The Covenant. The Covenant's the one with the asterisks. It's not based off a true story, but it is based off of real events. So we will talk about that one at the end, just kind of our flavor on that one. But to start this off, actually, I chose this because every May I watch basically these movies with a couple others like Lone Survivor and some of the other ones, but
those are like the main ones.
I need to go back.
Wait, did you say American Sniper?
American Sniper, 13 Hours, Zero Dark 30, Hacksaw
I feel like
Ridge.
Those are the main ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Hallie, why don't you tell the audience why we watch it every May?
Well,
why I started it and you kind of why you decided to join me on it.
Why I decided? I mean, I also just really like those movies.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
those are some of my favorite movies.
When we first started dating, you didn't like movies, so
yeah, but like I will watch certain movies that just like suck me in. Like I've watched Zero Dark 30 like probably like 30 times, and it is so good. Like genuinely one of my favorite movies. So I don't know. It's just like it's fun for us. It's a good way to like commemorate. You know, Memorial Day. We call it Memorial Month. We just call them our Memorial Month movies. But I think also the 4 or 5 that you mentioned, Garrett, like they're all based on, you know, true stories, and they're all from like different time periods too. So we like to kind of like see it through the ages kind of thing too.
Yeah. Nice. So let's start back in time with Hacksaw Ridge. Carter, why don't you tell us what the movie's about?
Hacksaw Ridge is about Doss. Am I remembering his name correctly? Okay,
sure.
Okay.
It's Doss.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't quite remember either. I think
it's about a medic who serves and he chooses not to hold a rifle, just against, you know, his religion, what he believes in. And to be honest, I actually watched this one last night, and the end of it just hits me every time. It's a great movie, great story. Just me going back and watching it, I'm sitting here going, I don't know if I could choose to do that in the middle of that. And what he had to go through. So, yeah.
So, Dawes is one of the only Medal of Honor recipients for a conscientious objector. So basically he says like, look, I'm not going to contribute to the violence, but I will serve those around me. And it was a huge issue because it's like the middle of World War II when he decides to go through boot camp. And, you know, he's running around the battlefield, saving people's lives, you know, without carrying a weapon. He doesn't even grab one other than to use it as a splint, basically. So, yeah, our second movie, since you brought it up, Zero Dark 30. Tell us about it.
So good. So in Zero Dark 30, we follow Jessica Chastain's character. And basically, she is an analyst, right? Would be her title with the CIA. And her entire career, she's dedicated to finding Osama bin Laden. And so it follows her through, you know, her time in the U.S., you know, working at CIA headquarters, but then also when she's overseas in, I think it was in Pakistan, right?
It
And
was one of the places.
one of the places, but so you kind of see her over time picking up all these different clues, and she's coming across, people who kind of doubt her, don't believe her, and they think this, all the leads that she's got are kind of dead. But she sees them through, and obviously, and ends up finding him, and they create this plan alongside General McRaven, who led that team of SEALs, and they found his compound, Osama bin Laden's compound, and killed him.
So the fact that you knew the general's name.
I was about to say, you
Yeah.
summarized that so well.
So I can you give some context to your educational background as to why you know that so well?
Yeah. So my undergrad's in political science, but I did my master's in security studies at Georgetown. And this program is well known for, turning out grads who go work for, different government agencies. A lot of the 3-letter ones, like FBI, CIA, all those kinds of agencies. And my concentration while I was in the program was military operations. So well familiar with General McRaven. Yeah,
what a dope name.
He's also like
Yeah.
a freaking legend. Like he's a boss.
He's kind of like North without the bad judgment calls. Carter, tell us about American Sniper.
American Sniper follows the story of legendary marksman Chris Kyle and just his service in was it Desert Storm, War in Iraq?
No.
Okay.
It was
OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom.
So it was like after 9/11.
Yeah, post 9/11.
And yeah, we just kind of follow him. That's kind of my summary there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's Chris Kyle, Navy SEAL, and his 4 tours to Iraq, and just dealing with home life and the combat life back and forth. For context, Navy SEALs do like 6 to 12-week rotations, where most larger units like Marine Corps units, Army units will do
months.
Yeah, it's like 7 to 12 months.
Oh.
So they do a lot of high tempo rotations, but they're cycling in and out. So they'll do like 4 deployments, and I'm not saying like it's the same, because they're much higher tempo of what they're doing on a daily basis, and that's why they have to rotate out. And then the last 2 we have the Covenant. The Covenant is Jake Gyllenhaal, and I can picture his face, but
I don't know his name.
I can't remember his name. But basically, it's the story of the interpreters that we had in Afghanistan. So basically, every unit that interacts with the locals, we have to have an interpreter. My PASH 2 is pretty garbage. I mean, it's been it was 2011, so it's been 14 years since I've had to use it at all. So if I remember anything, it's just hello. And even when I went in there, I knew like 10, 20 words. So we always had an interpreter. Well, a couple years ago when we pulled out of Afghanistan, all the interpreters were promised green cards, because basically, like, even early days, they were hunted and their families were hunted. And so the green card was our promise to them. Well, after we left, we just left all of our interpreters behind. All the green card promises, like most of them have.
And I think the hunting for them too, like, just went through the roof because the Taliban took over.
They had no protection anymore.
No. Yep.
And so the story is Jake Gyllenhaal doing everything he can to go save his interpreter that saved his life. It is probably one of the best soundtracks you'll ever hear in a movie. You'll also, it's just a fantastic performance by everyone around. So while not a true story, it is based off real events.
Like true themes.
True theme. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, and I just realized we skipped something. So, talking about soundtracks, what have you been up to lately? And we're going to start with Hallie, mainly just because you and I we spend all of our time together.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to? What have you been enjoying?
Like up to in my life, or just like in general?
TV, movies.
So lately I've been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I really like bad reality TV.
I just shared my Hulu passcode with the family last night because they all had to go watch the new season that's coming out. So I get it.
The number of people who, like, friends who text me, watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I was like, yeah, duh, of course. So I've been watching that. Garrett and I have been watching Ted Lasso.
Oh, so good.
We've just been like going through it because there's like they're like
30-minute
30-minute episodes. They're super
It's
easy to
quick,
go
yes,
through.
and they all make you feel good afterwards.
Yeah,
So you're like, let's
it's
do
just
another
like
one.
really like heartwarming, even if it deals with like some tough, subjects and things like that. And recently we finished Shrinking.
Oh, hold on. I was going to bring this up.
Oh, sorry.
Dude, no, you're good. I want to say thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, for
because
telling
it
us
is,
to watch Shrinking. It was
I think Shrinking might be the best TV series of all time.
It's really good.
It is
so
hilarious. If you can get past the language, it is hysterical.
That's fair. Yeah.
It also deals with like heavy emotional beats that feel very real. And just in general, like it'll make you cry, it'll make you laugh, and it'll make you feel good.
Yes.
By the end,
yeah.
And it is, I think you summarized it perfectly there, where if you can get past the cursing and the language, everyone can relate to Shrinking. And I'm like, go give it a watch. And it's,
it's 30-minute episodes. There's only 2
I think
seasons.
the episodes are closer to an hour. No?
Most of them are 30 minutes with the exception of the last one in each season's like 45.
That's okay.
Which is why
it carries the same pace as like Ted Lasso. So they are shorter
it's good.
episodes.
And I think that's Apple TV. Their 30-minute shows are
good.
They're so
outstanding.
good.
Like we're trying to watch Severance, and
it's just I don't know. I'm having a hard time with it.
I've been told that if we can get to episode 4, we'll be hooked.
Okay, because I feel like people are obsessed with that
Severance
show.
is good, and it does.
Have you guys watched it?
We watched it. We just finished season 2. And Kaylee felt the same way. We had to get till about episode 4 or 5 where I was like, hey, come on. And then after the season final, she was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm bought in. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, cool.
But anything else? Sorry, I wanted to say thank you for Shrinking.
Yeah,
because
well, and just on the Shrinking Ted Lasso stuff, there's a new Apple TV show coming out. I think it's called Split or Sticks. It starts with an S. It's with Owen Wilson. He's an ex-golf pro who then has to go work at like a country club to just kind of make his name back known.
Yeah.
It looks good and heartwarming, and so that'll be
cute.
We'll
That'll
watch
be
that
fun.
This year.
Yeah. I like Owen Wilson.
We'll definitely watch
too.
that too. Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Just
in terms
Secret
of
Wives, Mormon Wives, and Apple TV. Basically.
Lots of and I mean all the
That's all good
Housewives franchises that I watch. They wrapped up, a little earlier
Below
this
Deck.
year. Oh yeah, I've been watching old Below Deck.
Okay.
When I had time off from OT school.
Yeah. So I should mention that Hallie was gracious enough to join us in putting aside her studies because she's in the middle of a doctoral program. And so
thank you, Hallie.
I greatly appreciate it because I know that this takes up a lot of time.
Today was the first week, so homework was light.
Okay.
So it was nice.
Was light? What are you talking about?
I finished all my homework by like noon today. It was great.
I understand that.
It only took a couple hours.
Yeah,
it only 6 hours.
It only took all week.
Yeah.
So
I knew I had this coming up. So.
Yep. What have you been up to, man?
Man, lately, Kaylee and I have been watching The Last of Us, so keeping up with season 2.
So good.
Yeah,
so good.
We're enjoying that. And then from a playing standpoint, really just still Call of Duty. Having a good time in that.
Verdansk has been fun, man.
It's been fun.
I expected more on the Reloaded update, like with a little like changes to the environment, but it's been fun.
Yeah,
I'm loving casuals by myself.
Me too. Just even casuals that's what the game needed.
Yeah,
I need to bring back the dogs.
Okay, that's
the dogs are really cute.
Yeah, they used to ride on your back, and they no longer
and
do.
You parachute out, and the dog would just hang there. It was I don't know. I always thought that was so funny. It's a little detail that you wouldn't think about, but it's fun.
Let's see. So I have like 13 movies that I've watched in the last 2 weeks because I had to travel for an interview, and then we went and saw some friends a little while ago. And so I watched 2 movies on the way there, 2 movies on the way back. And so I was
going to say, I'm getting the emails and I'm like, oh, Garrett's watching a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's because I had to travel. So I have a bunch of shorts to do. So, hey, go look for those shorts. But let's see. Yeah, I watched The Town. I'm rewatching.
Was it your first time seeing The Town?
No, I've seen it before. And it's just one of those, it's a great movie. Like, the scene, there's 2 scenes. I mentioned this in my review. Like the scene of where Ben Affleck walks in and be like, hey, I need you to come with me. We're going to do something stupid. You can never ask me about it. And Jeremy Renner goes,
you can't ask me any questions. Yeah.
Jeremy Renner goes, okay, cool. Whose car are we taking? And that's his only response. And everybody's like, oh, this is true ride or die friendship. And it is.
It is, 100%.
And then the second one is the scene where like they're all in their mask and they look at a cop who's just in his car and they just happen to be there, and he just turns his head to look away because he doesn't want any part of it, and he knows he can't reach faster because their guns are there. and everybody's like, "Oh, it's me not paying attention." I think those memes are still so good, and watching the movie, I think they're even better. Like, it's just so good. And then for games, I've been playing Oblivion, and I'm almost done. I finished all the Guilds but the Dark Brotherhood, and then I'll have the main storyline after that. So I will finish that, and then I'll start playing Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So good.
Speaking of Ben Affleck, we watched Account 2.
Oh,
We went to see it in theaters.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So
Did you-
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
It's like you have a lot more John Bernthal in this movie, which I liked. I like him as an actor. But I felt like there was also a lot more humor
Yes.
sprinkled in throughout. And it was
They
kind of,
capitalized
it was
on
kind
just
of
their
fun. Yeah, their
Yeah.
relationship
Yes.
and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was really
good.
good.
It was
We-
really good.
We saw Thunderbolts.
We did.
Oh, yeah.
That was okay.
Yeah.
We
it's on.
I feel like people
I
were
liked
saying,
it.
"Oh my god, best Marvel movie since what was it, Endgame?"
yeah,
Listen,
but I mean
Hallie,
the
some
bar's
of my-
really low.
yeah, I was gonna
Yes.
say, I was like, but the bar is really
so some
low.
of my buddies were like, "Oh, it's the best Marvel movie we've seen since like Infinity War."
Yeah.
Even going back to like older
Sure.
Captain. And I'm like,
No,
eh,
Like
right.
it's good.
I just
that's why I'm like,
rewatched
guys,
Captain
it's-
America: First Avenger, and I didn't like that one before. I prefer that one though over Thunderbolts.
Yes. And so like Thunderbolts was fun. I enjoyed it. Garrett and I both agree. We wanted a little bit more fist fighting and like
Yeah.
superheroes beating each other up, but Thunderbolts is fun.
They set up a big bad that ended up not being a big bad. Like
Yeah.
it just it was.
He'll be a big bag later.
Will he?
I don't know. Right. We don't know.
Like it just it felt lackluster.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so back to our podcast. So in the last movie we were talking about is 13 Hours. This is a story of the contractors, the CIA contractors that were in Benghazi and the defense of the Benghazi CIA outpost when it got raided by the Taliban there. With this, I left this out because all the other ones are Navy, Army. I think Hacksaw Ridge is Army, right? Or is it Marines?
I think it's Army.
Yeah. It feels like Army in my brain.
It does.
Yeah.
13 Hours deals with the Marine Corps. And I'll post this in the show notes, but who plays Kylo Ren? Oh my God.
Adam.
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver did a TED Talk talking about his transition from Marine Corps to acting. And it is probably one of the better TED Talks I've ever heard. Like, and I've listened to a crap ton because for a while when I worked at the DoD, we only had access to .mil.gov and TED website. So the TED website was the only website we could stream. And so I watched a lot of TED Talks, but his is fantastic. And I think that's really what started the catalyst for me for watching these movies all the time. It's just this, he mentions it, like, how do I put to words the feelings that I'm feeling, leaving something that is so profound that you don't really realize it until you leave. And so with that, our first question, how do these movies handle the idea of heroism without glorifying war itself? I'm playing, by the way, I'm dropping heavy bombs today.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Carter.
I mean, I guess the first thing off the top of my head is just every movie, each hero still had something that they were dealing with, whether it was pulling the trigger, running into something in war that they didn't expect. And so you still sit here and look at it going, okay, cool. Yes, this guy is who everyone wants to be. That's the American hero. But man, they were making decisions that, hey, I don't know if in the moment I could do that. And so that was kind of big for me, even going back and watching all the movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say something similar in that, like, I think a lot of those movies do a good job of showing, like, particularly American Sniper, 13 Hours, like the actual sort of realities that a lot of the individuals who fight in these conflicts face. Like, they have either really difficult home lives or, they lose, their good friends over in these, in these foreign countries. And like, that's just devastating. And, you can be the hero, but you also carry a lot of this like baggage.
Yep.
And
I will say too, those movies, I go back and watch them and I'm, as a kid, it's, I wonder if I could do this. Now that I'm older, I'm like,
like
no,
never in a million years.
Exactly. It's like, man, I can't comprehend what those guys had to go through and just, it hits different. So.
Yeah.
One of those scenes that always hits really differently for me is an American Sniper. One of his teammates gets shot but survives, and so they take him home. They're doing surgery, and he goes and sees him before surgery, has a great conversation with him, and then he ends up on his next deployment, and it's probably been 4 or 5 days. But the guy ends up dying on the surgery table, and he doesn't know, and he finds out while deployed by one of his with the other buddies that was there with him, and like it's that hammer blow, and you're just like, how do I handle this? And like it's very much the conversation in your head, like, oh shit, like I just talked to him. Like anyone who's lost anyone, like suddenly, and we can talk about this in Shrinking, like that same idea of like, okay, what do I do? How do I move forward? How do I, like change my mentality to survive? And so I think that's that to answer this question, like heroism without glorifying war itself. I think that's what it does. Like all of them did really well, is this idea of like, I'm not really paying attention to the larger problem. I'm paying attention to the mission at hand and taking care of those around me. Even Zero Dark 30 does this.
Yeah. I think they do a good job showing just the realities of war and like what it all entails, rather than just being like, oh, like we killed the bad guys. Like, and there's someone who's sort of the figurehead of that. And they, get all the different awards for their service, but they've like gone through some shit, over that journey.
So how do you think these movies strike a balance between realism and Hollywood? I'll jump in. Having read the 13 Hours book, which is what the movie's based off of, which was which was written by Tonto in the movie. Well, not the actual guy, not the actor.
Okay.
And so it was written by kind of all of them. They all chipped in to tell their parts of the story.
It's authored by Tonto.
Yeah. I think one of the things it does, that movie especially does really well, is even Zero Dark 30 is based off a book. American Sniper is based off a book. Hacksaw Ridge is the only one not based off a book, and the Covenant, obviously. But those three are following this book, which is, if you remember back to your elementary school days, primary sources. They're direct sources from those in memory, and we know now that memory is subjective. But I think those are pretty good accounting. I think what you're going to get more in the storytelling is the longevity, which I think 13 Hours does the best at, is trying to impact upon you this idea of how long this fight is going on. Whereas like American Sniper, like it's 2 hours of movie, 220 or whatever. But it covers years.
Yeah.
Like he's in buds, he gets married, he goes on
probably
first
covers
deployment.
like 10, 12 years of his career.
And then all the way to the end, hey, spoilers, he gets killed trying to help a veteran. And so I think 13 Hours is probably the best at this, is telling a true story and just making you feel like, oh my God, this is one night. Mm-hmm. This is so much to deal with. And just for it to end so poorly.
I think too, with 13 Hours, what they did a really good job with was like developing the characters, because like maybe this is more the Hollywood aspect of it, but there was like some good humor, like Tonto like fighting the holy war in his shorts, like, like who does that? But like it's just funny, right?
Maybe he needs a new hat.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, things like that, or oh my gosh, is it Boone? And he's like flapping his like arm around when it's like half attached.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck is this shit?
He walks in and calls. He's like, hey, they need help upstairs. And it's like, no, you gotta get to medical.
Yeah, you're messed up.
But no, it's it's not Boone. It's Oz.
Oh, it's Oz.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Oz,
Sorry.
Oz gets hit by a mortar, and he's like, "Hey, man, look at this! It's all fucked up."
Yeah.
And his arm's just.
And he like seems more pissed.
Well, he tries to grab his
arm...
rifle too, and he goes, "Oh, it doesn't work." Okay, and he just picks it up, and it's like, "Oh, dude."
Yeah. No, I think
they did reattach his arm though.
They did.
They
re-enlisted him so that he could get medical service that was free of charge.
Yep.
And
respect
to go into this idea, like, because we touched on it. I'm all for government paid healthcare if it works. You want to know why it won't work in the United States? Just go look at the VA. One of my I just started a new job. One of my coworkers is the guy who implemented the
it's like the scheduling
system, which is a reaction to a veteran taking his own life in the VA parking lot after showing up for an appointment, them not checking him in, and then them canceling the appointment because they didn't check him in. And
even though he was like sitting there the whole time.
And he'd been trying to get this appointment for 4 months. And so the VA healthcare is a nightmare.
Yep.
And so like that I'm all for like that, but we gotta use veterans as a test bed. I'm fine with that. That's what we've been guinea pigs for eons at this point. Just get it to work. But yeah, no, I think the ones that are based off book do a great job of telling a real story without injecting a lot of Hollywood into it. And I think movies like The Covenant is all Hollywood, and you can very much feel it.
Like with the Angel of Death coming in and being you know, and so, they just like torch everybody else, but they're totally fine. And it's like, okay, like you might have gotten hit by something. You know?
So for clarification, the Angel of Death is a C-130 that has artillery rifles mounted on the side.
It's pretty dope.
And it's a crazy weapon.
My parents watched that movie, and my dad texted me, "Hallie, is this real?" And I was like, "Yeah, it actually exists." And he's like, "Cool."
But yeah, like they're unloading this thing on a dam, and you know,
that's amazing.
So like that's pure Hollywood, which I'm down with. I love a good action film. Like John Wick is our favorite film in the house.
We love John Wick. Yeah.
But like the movies based off book, I think do a great job of that. So I did 10 years in the Marine Corps. You guys obviously didn't. I mean, so how did these movies give you a kind of did they change your perspective of like military life and the nature of sacrifice? And with that, you know, how you're Canadian, Carter, you're significantly younger than me. And I say that in regards to this conversation because my first deployment was during the drawdown. And so like, by the time you would have been of age, we were already way like years into pulling out. Yep. So what was your initial thoughts before watching these movies, and like how did it change? Because like I mean like it's a different world for both of y'all than it is for me.
I mean, man, so some of these movies came out years ago, and so I was able to grow up watching them or watch them whenever I was younger. And like I was saying earlier, from a younger perspective, playing football, growing up in Texas, whatever, you think you're a badass. So it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. You know what? I could do this. Like, yes, I'm mentally prepared, whatever it is. Like, oh, I'm physically equipped, mentally, all of it. Let's go in. And then as I get older, I sit here and go back and watch these movies. And it's like, man, look at what these guys went through. No. Like, I don't know if I could, like one of my favorite things at the end of 13 Hours, one of the guys goes, hey, if it wasn't us 6, we're not making it out of here. And like that always hits, because it's like, man, like you have to have just everything equipped and everything mentally there to get out of those situations. And as I get older, I watch it and I'm like, man, it takes a lot of training, a lot of respect for what those people go through, what you went through, Garrett. And it hits different the older I get.
I am not those guys. Okay, I want to be abundantly clear.
Look,
they're another level. Yeah. Like it, you know, like wartime is being wartime. You know, everyone's got their stories, but that at no time in my career was I ever in a 13-hour firefight and, you know, running from one echelon to another one in an effort to go and defend people miles apart. Yeah. You know, nothing crazy like that for me. So what about you, Hallie?
Can you repeat the question again?
New perspective on military life and nature of sacrifice, as well as like what was the change from, you know, growing up in Canada where military is drastically different. You know, we lived there for a while during COVID. Yeah. And even I learned that just talking to people, just like not a thing.
It's not really that big of a part of life. Which like we also don't really have a lot of like things for veterans. It's not like as built up as it is.
Yeah,
here.
I should note that.
But our military is a lot smaller too.
Yeah. So. The Canadians should get some
they should get some
credit because they were at D-Day. There was a small detachment. They were also in Afghanistan, Desert Storm, up until maybe it's probably been like 3 years. A Canadian held the longest confirmed kill at like 2.5 miles.
Really?
And he held it for like 3 or 4 years. and someone just beat it with like almost 3 miles, like insane
insane.
That's a hell of a
distances.
shot. Yeah.
And so like the Canadians, while small, are but they're also a unified military. Like they're no longer like yes, they are broken up into like Air Force, Army, Navy type deal, but they are a unified, like the DoD holds everyone.
It's not as like distinct
Yeah.
as it is in the US. But going back to the question about like, did it lend new perspectives? Like I actually remember when, like Afghanistan and Iraq were ramping up and Canada sent, like soldiers over, and my mom would like have the radio on in the mornings. It would be like my alarm clock. Like it would turn on at like, 6:30 or whatever it was. And they would always go through like, okay, this is what happened yesterday, or like while you were sleeping kind of thing. And so I grew up like hearing about Canadians, like getting, their Humvees getting hit by like IEDs and things like that. So I felt like that sort of lended some reality to it. But granted, at the time I was probably like 10 or probably like 10 years old. So for me, it was kind of like, okay, like that's sad, but I don't think it really like hit me. But I think the movies do a really good job of like highlighting a lot of the sacrifices. And yeah, I think overall it gave me a different perspective than,
Speaking that, we were living in, or I was living in Arlington, you were living in DC when we met.
Mhm.
And I mean, you met me before watching these movies. How was that transition in general for you? That mental transition, going from, dating whomever to dating a guy that had spent a career.
Mhm.
I did 10 years active duty. Like I'll call that any.
I think that's a
10 years,
career.
if
That's
you
a
spend
career.
10 years
Yeah.
at any one company, that's a
Yes.
career.
Yes.
So like I'll call
That's
it a career.
Mhm.
Like it definitely, I think it flavored our conversation in the beginning. You want to tell the folks what you thought of me when we first met?
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to tell the folks. Just tell me. Yes.
So when we first met, Garrett was like, yeah, I did 10 years active duty. And my first thought was like, oh my gosh, he's going to be so stupid. And I thought he was going to be just like kind of dumb. And because that had been my like experience with other people in the past who were in the military. Not going to name any branches, but
The Navy.
it wasn't the Marine Corps.
The Navy.
But, and I think also too, like the Marine Corps, like everyone thinks of them as like the crayon eaters and stuff. And so
I like the purple ones.
the purple,
They taste a little different.
They taste like grape.
No, they're purple.
They're just purple.
It tastes like purple.
It's like blue raspberry tasting like blue
Yeah.
raspberry.
Not a real thing, but yeah.
But yeah, and then like over time, obviously I found out, okay, he's very intelligent and very like got his act together. Like you were in grad school at the time too, and obviously like accomplished. So
Grad school while working.
yeah, you were working full time too. So it's not like
Both of those
you were no
full-time
slouch.
jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah, that's what I first thought when we met. I was like, oh gosh, maybe I don't want to go out with him. But then I was like, I'll give it a shot.
I mean, it worked out. It worked out.
Yep.
So these movies, for the most part, there's a lot of like action oriented, boots on the ground with snippets of other things. Whereas Zero Dark 30 is the opposite. It is highlights of action with a lot of drama and explanation and kind of that buildup of what to achieve. What's the preference? Boots on the ground or intelligence?
I mean, I like both.
I was gonna say I like both.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all kind of can put in our heads the idea of, all right, boots on the ground. What does this look like? But then like the Zero Dark 30 side, it's like, okay,
You don't really know what it looks like.
right, and it's
Yeah.
like they're fighting a completely different battle on what they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. And so yeah, I like both.
Yeah.
I
I
think-
like both too.
I think one of the things Zero Dark 30 does is talk about. So, I am playing a mental, can I say this game in my head? So we now know that the intelligence community was using a single source for our justifications of invading Iraq for weapons of mass destruction. And so it created this huge dilemma. And I mean,
And you see it play out in Zero Dark 30 when you know, like Jessica Chastain brings this like
Sing-
evidence that,
Single source.
and it was like one source, and they're like, she's like really sure that Osama bin Laden's there, but everyone else is like, we don't want a repeat of WMDs in Iraq.
Curveball.
Like,
Yep.
Right.
you know, and because they got so much flack for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then forgot where I was going with this.
You were talking about like the intelligence side of things.
But you also see the consequences of the same thing where things are too good to be true. The explosion at the base in Camp Chapman, where they're waiting for that guy to come in. They gave him all these, special privileges, and because of that, he was able to bring a bomb in, and it was one of the worst intelligence failures of all time because they were so narrowly focused on the achievement. They didn't do their due diligence, and I think that is the same thing that we see in like it's that same issue that we see in like 13 Hours, where hey, we can see this happening, but people outside the realm aren't paying attention to intelligence on the ground, and so like it's just. I think that honestly, like
I think too, like the US just did not understand what was going on in Libya, like because like there's so many, different groups like fighting each other and stuff too. Like I don't think you can actually understand like what's going on between these groups without actually like being there.
I think a good kind of representation of that, honestly, is the movie 12 Strong, which is another one on our list.
That's a good one.
Early in the movie when they first get together, like, how do we know that's Taliban? He flips radio channels to the Taliban channel,
and they're just like talking to each other, and it's like, why would you talk to your enemies?
Yeah,
but
and that happens in 13 Hours. He was like, oh, we're now the bad guys, and so like the people I interacted with, in Afghanistan, like there was a definitive change at times of like, oh, hey, we love you. Oh, hey, you've crossed the line. And what movie is that? No, it's John Krasinski's Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan.
The first season, they no, I was right the first time. It's Lone Survivor when they collect all the goat farmers. Mark Wahlberg's character says, or one of them says, hey, that's a fighter. And it's just this idea that we've like drone attacks and things like that, because we were so indiscriminate at times, we've created more enemies. And I think that has been the intelligence failure for both wars, or all three, if you want to get technical, OIF, OEF, and OIR, for translation, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, and Inherent Resolve. And those are the intelligence failures that I think still happen. I think those are the same intelligence failures that failed the interpreters, as they were like, oh, the Taliban's not going to be that aggressive. Oh my God, were they? They were already aggressive, and as soon as they smelled blood, they're like sharks. They're just ready to roll. So, 13 Hours. I prefer the boots on the ground stories because it's more. Actually, that's not indicative of my experience because I did both jobs.
Yeah.
But I find I was always bored as my job as an analyst. So like it's those big wins like that are few and far between. And they take years before like that for my side.
Like the intelligence.
Yeah.
Wins, yeah. But I think that's what makes them so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like if you want to like if you want to go look up something that I was quasi a part of near the end, look at the disclosure of like APT-10, which is a cyber threat actor group. The team I was a part of helped find the intelligence to find those people, but that was like 5 or 6 years of intelligence gathering to identify people for nothing to happen, because they're
just like, we found them.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're also Chinese nationalists, and like we can name names and we put sanctions on them so they can't travel to any of our friends, but nothing
happened.
But like nothing's gonna happen, like it's not that big of a deal. So
and even just so, and I guess initial question to answer, or still go back to it because I got more thoughts.
Go for it.
With so yeah, I'm in software sales, so nothing special. But even us in software sales, like our joke is, why is this getting so political? Like, why are we having to, why is this getting so political when I'm just asking for whatever and it's having to go all the way up? And that's where just on the movie side, where, hey, do we want boots on the ground? Do we like seeing the more strategic side? On the more strategic side, that's where the older I get, I'm watching those going, man, just give the people what they want. Like, they're asking you what they need to succeed, and sometimes they don't get it, and you can just see how frustrating it is. And it's like, why is it so political? Why is it getting so, I don't know, muddy when it doesn't need to? So
Yeah.
There's
like a simple solution, but like they decide to just not.
Yep.
If you had to recommend only one of these movies who knew nothing about modern military history, so that takes out Hacksaw Ridge, because that's
not modern.
That's not modern. Which one of them would it be, and why?
Why would Hacksaw Ridge not be?
It's not modern by any stretch of the imagination.
What do you mean?
Well, when that movie happened, they didn't have. They were on transistors. They didn't have integrated circuits. The atomic bomb hadn't been dropped yet.
Okay. All right. So
like modern technology.
I mean, modern warfare. Like, I mean, like World War II was the.
We're not going to send 2,000 troops up a wall to go randomly. We're going to.
Yes, we will. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go first. I'm going with 13 Hours. And the main reason is I think that one is the best one that shows the humanity of trying to maintain relationships and friendships over years and back home, all while trying to protect those that are directly next to you. Like Oz, he's out on mission when the compound gets attacked, and he gets the two CIA folks back, and he ends up, having to chew them out, and it creates this bond between them. And then you also have John Krasinski, trying to get to Roan, and just we've watched this
a lot,
20 times in the last 5 years.
We watched it outside of Memorial Month too.
But that scene where, he's yelling when the Delta guys are just rolling the body off the roof because it's about expediency. It is soul crushing. And John Krasinski it will always be one of my favorite actors because of that. Just that, that immediate reaction to just bloodlust for damaging your friend, even though your friend is not there. And so
I mean, he turns around like he's going to witness his friend pass away, and it's like,
again,
no, exactly, and it's like that's already happened. He just can't watch it. And
Yep. So that's it. It's the story of why most people continue to reenlist. It's for those that are around you. So,
I think I would probably recommend Zero Dark 30, at least for someone maybe in like if it was like someone in our age bracket or older, like if someone like my parents' age, I would probably recommend that, because I feel like when we finally found and eliminated Osama bin Laden, like that was such a seminal moment in sort of US like history, and it was
Western culture, honestly.
Yeah, and honestly, like they had been working on that for like over a decade at that point. And so when they were able to do that, it was just like, it was honestly like kind of iconic. And so I think I would recommend that, because it just shows, you get some of the action with like when they go in, the SEAL team goes in, and
Chris Pratt's in that.
Oh yeah, and he's quite funny in that too. He has some good humor and stuff. But I also would recommend Zero Dark 30, because I think it has a good mix of like a little bit of everything.
You get both.
Yeah, you get a little bit of
both.
See
both sides.
Yeah.
I still think it's Jessica Chastain's best film of all time.
100%.
Like she's done some other great films, like Molly's Game.
Molly's Game was so good.
Garrett, Molly's Game was the only one I was going to say. Might be up there with best, but I still think Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, I think it's her best.
I mean, she was in a movie called Ava, which is she's a spy. It's okay. It's like a 6,
and
7.
I liked Miss Sloan.
Miss Sloan's super good.
Was really good.
We did watch Miss Sloan. Miss Sloan was good.
Yeah. I bet like Jessica. She was also in a movie called 355, which has to be the worst spy movie of all time.
Is that the one that has the gun fire where like the sound doesn't match up with like they'll pull the trigger and then you'll hear pew and you're like,
but then they do this.
Yeah,
See,
and they're like their
look,
recoil.
Hallie, if it makes you do that, I can't imagine what it would make me do. So yeah.
So if you go to EpicScreenTime.com/the-355, you can go see the GIF and the quick video of
It's
that.
so
it is so bad. It makes me laugh. It's
Like,
that bad.
we paused it and we were like, did they just do that?
Like, come on.
what?
Like, come
It was just
on.
like so blatantly like mistimed. Like
Yeah.
whoever their sound guy needs to be fired. Like straight up.
I'm blaming the director on that one.
And also whoever taught them like how to make a gun recoil. Like, and it was like, it was just like, it looked so fake.
Very Hollywood.
Very Hollywood. Yeah, very.
What about you?
I would go with 13 hours. Mainly because I guess it shows you both sides a little bit, not as much as Zero Dark 30, but those scenes at the end where you see how the troops are and it's like, okay, this is warfare. Like you're having to put up with this, but then also it kind of hits on what Chris Kyle goes through in American Sniper with hey, I still got a family back home. And, I'm choosing to come back and give this time. And so that's a whole nother side of the warfare. Like you don't even see in what these troops are going through, the sacrifices that they make. And
yeah.
Good one.
So do you guys think Hollywood should do more of the like stories that are less publicized in military history, or stick with the ones that we probably have heard of?
I would love to see one publicized.
I would too, because
I
I feel
think that
like
would be
especially in
so
today's
cool.
world, we get it all on the
it's
the
like on
internet
Twitter,
now. We
like
can see
immediately.
it. Exactly. So
Yeah, I would totally love to see like the less
the unsung
popular.
heroes.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
There is a movie called The Outpost.
Okay.
It's about an army unit that, for whatever dumbass reason, put their OPLP, so observation post, listening postal, patrol base, in the middle of a valley, like in the mountains, and it's based off a true story. It's not like it's okay.
It has Scott Eastwood in it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's hard to see if I remember correctly. I haven't watched it a lot because I remember just being like I know it's based off a true story, but like there's a lot of Hollywood in that. Going back to that, story versus Hollywood. This one's a lot of Hollywood.
Okay.
But that story I think should get more. I would love to honestly.
Was there a reason they put the outpost right in the middle of?
It was in the middle of like the people they were trying to like work with.
Okay.
But they were also like on the border of Taliban territory. Like it was a horrible idea.
6 one way, half a dozen another. Like, hey,
Yeah,
we gotta do
but I mean,
yeah.
just tactically, it was
That's
a
fair.
horrendous idea.
I mean, sitting in a valley in general is bad tactical. Yeah, but
Yeah, sitting in a valley is bad tactics. Yes. I watched a reel. I think that's what it's called. Y'all, my social media game sucks. I'm
short
old.
video
Short
on
video
social media.
on a social media, and they were talking about how like all these stories are always about Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, Delta.
Like you just want to almost see one about like some last dude.
But that's the
like,
thing is that the mentality is different. They were specifically talking about why there are no movies about Marines. Like
Why?
because it's just the job. Like at
That's
no
fair.
time, like the Marine Corps
fair.
drills that into you in boot camp is that this is your job. Your job is to protect those next to you and not worry about the accolades. And so.
And I also don't think the Delta guys and the SEAL guys are necessarily like doing it for the accolades. Though.
Yeah. No.
I think like they truly like want to be there. Otherwise, they wouldn't go through like buds and all their crazy
Agreed.
training.
But like, how many SEALs write books when they get out?
Like every single one of them.
How many Marines write books?
Very like I don't
Maybe
I don't
General
know about
Mattis.
many.
Maybe,
but I mean, like General Mattis also has like
that dude's a G.
Yeah, he is a G. Yeah.
So Mad Dog Mattis to catch you up.
Okay.
Was a Marine Corps general for CENTCOM during most of Afghanistan.
Yep. All you had to say was Mad Dog.
Yeah.
You know.
See, and that's what I'm saying is like he has a moniker and that's what everybody knows him as. I'm trying to think of like, honestly, I think a story that would do well, but would be very controversial, would be the story of Dark Horse 3-5, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. In 2011.
Oh, were these you don't?
Oh no, that'd be a good one too.
Okay.
I don't think it got picked up by the mic. But Hallie asked if these were the guys that were urinating on the deceased. Trying not to get flagged by every social media.
That was good.
Sorry.
That was a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so, no, 3-5 was a Marine Corps unit that was in Marja. And in the first 45 days of them being there, they lost something like 20 people.
Oh.
And this is late game
Okay.
Afghanistan.
Okay.
So like the numbers made no sense.
I mean, yeah, you said 2011.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine was there with 3-5 and 111 replaced him. I was with 211 at the time. So we replaced the unit that was supporting them. And I remember he has come a long way from 2012. But he was not the same person. Like it was, I don't know how it would be received because there's so many people that lost people that they would have to do kind of like 13 hours where they're paying, they need Clint Eastwood to give real storytelling.
Right.
Like, we're paying attention to the details. And you can't skip anything, but if they left someone out, I don't think it could ever be done, but I think it'd be a good story to tell because I think that's where, what movie? There was a movie or TV show I watched not long ago. And it was Shrinking. And he's just like, I lost friends that I don't know why I was there.
Yeah.
And I think 2011 was when most of the military felt that way. Like, yo, I'm losing friends and I'm not entirely sure why I'm here anymore. We've been here for a decade and it's only gotten worse and we're not making any headway. We're losing ground because the Congress has lost the appetite. I hate that. If you are a political member and you tell someone that they don't have the appetite to handle something, you should be throat punched. Especially when it deals with service members. But yeah, they didn't have the appetite to continue funding it or to continue the push. And I'm like, well, that's what you brought us here to do. And
Right,
now
that's what you signed up
you're bailing, you're bailing on us. And so that is where I think it could make a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that kind of conversation piece of like, why are we here?
Yeah.
And focusing on,
I think that's one that could do a good job of boots on the ground and you see the other side of
Yeah.
it too. So.
Yeah.
coming home.
Totally.
There's Tom Holland is in a movie called Cherry. And it is a post-Afghanistan veteran who gets into drugs and just trying to survive after Afghanistan because it's just that balance and trying to learn home life after that. And so like that's a good movie, and I think that takes it to the extreme, but it has happened. So I think if they could find a balance, I think that'd be really good. This question, I think I couldn't, y'all are going to be like, well, why don't you answer that? So, but I'm curious about y'all's opinion. So, do you think veterans feel represented in these movies or feel seen as the generation says?
So I think maybe they see themselves in, as you said, like a lot of them focus on like the SEALs, Delta, these really highly specialized, highly trained units, but we don't really see too much of just like the ordinary, like quote unquote ordinary, like soldier or Marine who fights in these conflicts. And so I think maybe they see, elements of themselves in these, teams that are sort of like almost put on a pedestal for what they do. And rightly so, they deserve those accolades, but I don't think we see a lot of the sort of like day to day. Like I know when, we talk about your deployment to Afghanistan, Garrett, like the monotony sometimes, because like every day is like basically the same. Like you don't have a weekend. It's, just like
12-hour days,
Yeah,
7 days
and-
a week for 7 months. Yeah.
yeah. And so it gets monotonous. And I mean, you might see a lot of action. You might not see a lot of action, but I think it might not necessarily like tell the story or like sort of exemplify the experience of every veteran out there. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's how I feel. Look, we're dealing with movies, Hollywood,
Yeah.
I'd
They need
say
to like have
maybe 15-20% who have served can go, okay, I can relate to that a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're pushing their story. They're trying to build a picture for the audience, which, hey, I get. But yeah, the older, or not older, but watching the movies now, I'm like, man, not everyone can relate. So
yeah. I also think too, like recent veterans, like maybe they were in for 4 years and they just got out in 2025. Like they started maybe 2021 or whatever.
They're peacetime veterans. They don't count.
Okay.
I'm kidding, by the way.
Okay.
But it is a drastically different world.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that like they probably don't necessarily see any sort of, they don't relate to any of those experiences at all because like they've never been on a deployment or, maybe they were deployed, but they were deployed to like a base in
Hawaii.
Djibouti or something. And it's like, okay, they just sat on a base in Djibouti for 7 months, and did their job from there.
One of my coworkers' dads on a quote deployment to Hawaii. I was like, that's not a deployment. Well, I want to be abundantly clear.
That just sounds like a nice
the only thing I can think of is something
duty station.
Yeah.
Like
I want to make you learn how to go play guitar like Zach Bryan. So there you go.
Yeah. The one of the better movies. So Black Hawk Down is another one that's on the list. That one does a great job of showing kind of the monotony day to day, waiting for something to happen, and then all of a sudden everything happens.
Shit hits the fan.
And it just there's a guy that has a seizure. There's a guy that's creating a children's book that's got demons in it, and there's a guy. It's Ewan McGregor. He's I think he's the guy who sits in admin. He can type really well, so he hasn't touched a weapon in forever. And then if you want to go see another one that is quasi based off true story, is called Taking Chance. It's got Kevin Bacon. He plays a Marine Corps officer who is taking the remains of someone who died in Afghanistan back home, and it's all about that process. And he is a paper pusher, and during Desert Storm he was an artillery officer, but he hasn't done anything since then. And just the show, I think that one does a good job of showing kind of the survivor's guilt by proxy. And I say that because like you weren't there,
but they were your people.
But but you feel this sense of shame for not taking part, because like especially for the Marine Corps, like every Marine's a rifleman, and like, oh, you haven't deployed, then you aren't shit. Like I I make those jokes. I've been out for almost 10 years. Oh my God.
Like 8 years, yeah.
Yeah. And I still make those jokes. I mean, like, I'll take pictures, but like my uniforms are in shadow boxes on the wall behind Carter. And I like those jokes are just ingrained in my head because there is a certain rhythm. I'll be like, oh, you have a combat action ribbon, a car or cab, whatever, you want to call it. The Air Force is the Chair Force, the Navy is my Uber. Like, those jokes still apply, but there's always exceptions to the rule. And I think that is, those two movies do a better job of showing you everyone, and especially like this idea of like, oh, hey, you were a admin guy, but now you're this. Like, oh man, a buddy of mine named Altmos. He is a admin guy. When we were in Afghanistan, he was doing patrol duty for the 7 months because that's what we needed him for. And he has a combat action ribbon, went to his next unit, and his new senior enlisted accused him of faking that and not rating it, which is like the Marine Corps equivalent of like, oh, you just decided upon yourself to give yourself that ribbon. You didn't actually earn it. And they tried to investigate him, and all they had to do is go look in the system that they run. And so like, but like that is a huge thing. And so I think like that mentality, I think Taking Chance does a great job of just this. I should be there. I should be there. I should be there. And I mean, like, we all try and find stuff like in our new careers and whatnot of, belonging. And so I think both those movies do a good job of just trying to push that feeling of like, oh, these people are just trying to belong. So any last thoughts about those movies before we move into our rapid fire questions?
Mm.
No?
I got no thoughts.
No. Well, I watched 2 in the last like 24 hours, and
Nice.
it hits hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kaylee wasn't
they're
home
so
last
good.
night. 13 hours, or not 13 hours. Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah.
That one is
I get
like,
emotional at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Hacksaw Ridge. I remember watching Saving Private Ryan in middle school,
Okay.
and I bring this up because I'm going to mention like the heaviness and the goriness. Saving Private Ryan is not based off a true story, which is why it's not on this list.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it would be. But like I remember seeing like the intestines and stuff like that on the ground, and I like as a middle school, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw up, But
Mhm.
now I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Like people are losing legs, And I think Hacksaw Ridge does I think it's probably one of the better movies that shows the violence as a part of observation and not a prominent part of what was going on. Like 13 Hours, we joked with it earlier, guys like throwing his busted hand around, like, oh man, it doesn't work, Whereas, like movies like, 12 Strong, like it leans on that. Whereas, Hacksaw Ridge, like, I think it does a fantastic job of, people are hurt and dying, but it's not focusing on the wound. It's focusing on the interaction between Dawes and them.
Yeah.
And so like that makes it easier to stomach. And I think so, like, that's what I think some of these movies do really well is like the violence is part of it, but it's in an observational status, even mentally.
Yeah.
People like my mom, I don't think would see
She
it
would
that
not
way.
tolerate
I
that,
mean,
yeah.
she did watch Nicotine or Novocaine,
Okay.
Novocaine, and she was like, oh, the body's not supposed to have been that way, and she's a little squeamish, but like, I know that she doesn't handle the war movies quite the same way. And I think that Novocaine's more slapstick comedy, body dysmorphia or whatever. So, okay. Rapid fire questions. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Movie with the most intense fight scene.
Probably 13 hours.
Which one? Like which scene are you thinking? You can't say the whole Holy War.
Oh yeah. No, probably like when they're on top of the buildings and like all these
The
people are
bus.
just coming across like no
Yeah,
man's land and like the bus shows up
Zombie
and
land.
yeah.
Zombie
Land, sorry, no man's land. It's like a
You're-
World
no,
War.
you're-
They're-
like
they're
a
both
World
on
War,
the
like
list.
I
one
just
World
watched
War
it
II
yesterday, so it's right on my mind. Like, yeah.
And,
But yeah, probably that. But like Hacksaw Ridge was like super violent. Like
Yeah.
in my opinion, I thought it was pretty violent.
Mhm.
And also just like kind of barbaric. Like they were like literally torching people with like those gigantic flamethrowers and stuff. Like that's a horrible way to go. But probably 13 hours, that scene on the buildings.
Gosh, this is a great question. So I have to agree with both of those on
Yeah.
13 Hours, Hacksaw Ridge. Those were like intense from a battle standpoint. But
Mhm.
from an intense standpoint, what got me just, is the opening of American Sniper with the kid and the mom coming out. And
yeah.
it's like,
With
what do you
the
do?
You're like-
Russian RPG.
And
And-
yes, and like
Yeah.
that.
And
but
you're
again,
like, drop it.
right.
drop
And that's
it.
where, and
Yeah.
So
And I think that one is probably the better one that pays off in the long run for just creating that immediate sense of
yes,
intensity.
because they go back to it later on.
Well, not even that. There's also a scene later where a kid picks up the RPG and he's just like, don't.
Yes.
Yes. And you're
Yes.
begging the kid
Yes.
not to as well. And so like that immediate return to the intensity, like, I think you're right. Like
Okay.
while the fight scenes create a different type of intensity, I think that one is the one where you
Yeah.
almost panic sets in because we're as humans, we're ingrained not to want to hurt little ones.
Yep.
And so like,
Well, even in 13 Hours, he goes, I'm not shooting kids.
Yeah.
Like he's climbing up on the roof, and one of the guys goes, I'm not shooting kids, man. I didn't sign up for this. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's a different world.
who gave the best performance?
Oh,
Mm.
great question.
We got Bradley Cooper. We have John Krasinski.
I
We
mean-
have Andrew Garfield,
I like
Vince Vaughn.
I like each of their. I mean, yeah, Vince Vaughn kind of slapped
Which
in.
I will say,
Hacksaw
even
Ridge,
going back and
yeah.
watching Hacksaw Ridge, I'm like, Vince Vaughn did a great job.
I will
And
call you
just-
cheap.
And I feel like
Not as a mockery because of what you stand for your people. Like, what a great line.
I also like don't picture Vince Vaughn like in that role at all, but
Oh,
he did
God,
such
no.
a good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, he did.
I think like what was the question again?
Who gave the best performance?
Best performance. I think everyone did.
We already talked about Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, I mean, Jessica Chastain, 10 out of 10. But I also think Bradley Cooper did an amazing job being Chris Kyle in American Sniper, because I feel like he took on like the whole persona. Like he had the accent, and he was like gave off like super Southern vibes, and like, you know, when he was like home with his wife, he was like very much how I would picture like a Southern man like being with his like super Southern wife, you know? I don't know.
Drop them drawers.
Yeah, like exactly, like stuff like that, you know? And so I think for me, that's like I feel like he just brought like who Chris Kyle was like to life on screen.
For those of us that didn't know him, I think he did a great job of bringing him into life. Like I think we all agree that we now feel like we know Chris Kyle. Where the other ones, like I don't remember John Krasinski's name.
No.
Jack.
Jack.
And the only reason I remember that is because the
French girl. You're my husband,
going to be Jack.
That's my real name.
That's my real name. And that is the only reason. Yes.
And I think too with Jessica Chastain's character, like she actually doesn't represent a single like analyst at the CIA, because it was like her story's kind of like based off of like
it's based off a book written by the lady, but the lady did a great job in the book about talking about everyone who was involved.
Yeah, so she's not a single person. She represents kind of like everyone who was involved. Yeah, she didn't exist in real life, basically. That particular individual.
Yeah. I do y'all want to look at American Sniper and feel sad, even more sad in a different way, or would you like to maintain what you know and feel sad the same way?
Hit me with it.
Yeah, hit us with it. Yeah.
So, the charity that Chris Kyle created gave money to multiple families afterwards. Since his death, none of those families have seen a dime. Mrs. Kyle apparently has just disappeared. She hasn't done, like, the foundation doesn't exist anymore.
That's sad.
So
but
sad.
I think part of that is just because of how defamed he became immediately afterwards. Like his book dropped not long after his death, and what's his name, Homeboy, in the book he gets into a fight with the guy, and the guy sued them for defamation of character, and won, and so he got portion of the proceeds.
And of course, that's the news is going to go wrong with that.
And that became the legacy. And I think that I
feel like that would just tarnish it.
Yeah,
you know?
all the hard work, everything he did, you know, and just like all the help that he gave to people in the end, like his way of trying to get himself back.
Well, dude, even just the story of him overcoming what he went through to, hey, I can come back home and live a life.
Yeah. And he can help other people.
Yep.
I think too, probably like with, I think her name's Taylor. Taylor, like she has 2-3 kids. And so, you know, she's got to be the mom for them, because like, obviously Chris isn't here anymore. So trying to deal with all that, I can't imagine, you know, being in the public eye and like having to go through all that while also like maintaining like a home that's like functional, you know? And I can understand why she would maybe want to step away.
Yeah.
You know?
So our previous question was, one of our was most intense scene. Which one is the best battle sequence, like in and of itself? I don't think 13 Hours will ever beat and be beaten in this one. The sequence of events in 13 Hours, that battle just escalating and escalating.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 Hours, even just the scene in the car, or when they're in the Mercedes and they're having
and they're driving away, and the guy runs into
told you to take a left, and it's like, oh my gosh,
like, go left.
Yes, like them pulling the car just back up, seeing what they survived through that, and it's like, sure, I get that may have some Hollywood on it, but it's like, gosh, like
crazy.
So that car was taken from Gaddafi, so it was armored vehicle, bulletproof glass, and so those civilian ones are definitely designed to take pretty much anything but a bomb underneath. So it's pretty accurate to what was capable. I'm not sure about the like legitimate vehicle there. So which movie was the most emotionally draining?
Probably Hacksaw Ridge.
Say again.
Hacksaw Ridge, probably, I would say. I think, you know, between like what Dawes is going through as a medic and like the stuff he sees with just, you know, people that he works alongside, like either losing limbs, not being able to see, you know, passing away. And also, I think too, like what really got me was like all the conflict that he had going on at home too, like leading up to his enlistment and going away to boot camp, because like his dad's a drunk. His mom is like, what the heck are you doing? His brother's upset that he did that. And he's like, I'm going to do it anyway.
His brother joined.
But
before
wasn't
him.
his brother like upset that he did it anyways though?
Not really. He
okay.
was more upset like you're not that type of person.
Yeah.
But he's like he supported him. Like
Okay.
we don't really get a lot of the brother after he leaves.
Yeah, but I feel like he just had so much turmoil going on at home that was emotional in itself, and then just everything that he went through while fighting in the war or not fighting in the war, but like looking after soldiers who were fighting. I think it was just a lot.
I would agree there. Just with them painting the story of what he went through at home from his personal life, and then him making the decision of, okay, hey, I'm not going to hold a rifle. I don't want to kill another man after, hey, the childhood you went through. Dude, any kid who goes through that, you'd want to kill another man. Like,
yeah.
And so painting that picture and then going back, I think that was the most emotional. But I also want to say shout out to Mr. Anderson for being the dad there.
Matrix reference.
That was
for you, Hallie.
All right, cool. Yeah,
I forgot he was in there until I watched it the other day.
or if you really, or he's also the elf in Lord of the Rings. So
it's so random.
He's also the Red Skull in Marvel.
Dude, he
just makes the rounds.
Oh my god!
He's versatile.
I just wrote that review and I can't remember his name. Oh, that's gonna bother me. Bye, Felicia. She'll be back. So on our next question. If you know what? No, we're gonna skip those. One we've kind of already answered. Train, and the other one's like if you could see a sequel or follow up to any of this. I don't think any of them would.
I think they stand alone.
Yeah, I think what makes them successful is that there is no sequel. Like you're definitely not getting one for.
If there's a sequel
American
of anything,
Sniper.
give me American Sniper, but it's Chris Kyle's son, and he comes back.
No, we got
50
that
years from now.
We got that with Iron Eagles, and they were terrible. I honestly, as much as I think he trumps up his story a little bit, the Reaper, he is he has some of the highest number of recorded kills. He's an Army Ranger.
Okay.
Irving, I can't remember his first name. I would see it like American Sniper 2, but it's his story. Like he wrote a book. The book was entertaining.
I think they'd have to call it something different and just present it as like directed and produced by the same people as
Clint
American
Eastwood.
Sniper.
But we're not going to, because Clint Eastwood's not doing well.
Oh really?
He's 95.
Yeah.
He's that old?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, he has been around for forever.
Yeah. I mean, he was the old Wild West guy. So when we're talking about movies, we talk about a good story. Granted that these are all based off real people, which one is the most successful overall story? Zero Dark 30, like The Hunt, or is it American Snipers, like the presentation of all the tours?
I'd say Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, that would be what I would say too.
Yeah.
I think there's.
I feel like you go on a whole journey with
from
Zero Dark 30.
Chris Kyle American Sniper standpoint, and again, I wasn't there, I can't relate to it, but like if you're a soldier on the ground, your troops, whatever, that has more of a camaraderie. Like, hey, we can get through this because like how they painted the picture with Chris Kyle was there, but like from an American, like what did I grow up learning? It was we went and got Osama bin Laden. So yeah. Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, I agree. I think just in general, like when I think story, I always think Zero Dark 30. I don't think American Sniper. I think probably 13 Hours pops in my head mainly because of just that. For me, that's the most emotionally draining movie. And so like it always sticks with me. But I think story wise, I think Zero Dark 30 is the better story.
Yeah. I think 13 Hours is cool too.
Yeah,
it's just a cool,
it's a cool story. It's a different,
yes. I wanted to ask this when we brought it up at the beginning of the podcast. Does that kind of stuff, like, have you heard of something like that happening where somebody wants to come serve for our country and then go, oh, I don't want to hold a rifle? Like,
oh, you're talking about
like a conscientious objector?
Hacksaw Ridge, yeah.
It doesn't happen as often.
Okay.
I'd say in Vietnam was the last time we did the draft, and all the conscientious objectors just didn't go, or they served as medics at hospitals.
Okay.
They're like, all right, fine. And so like we also get a lot of people who moved up to Canada so they wouldn't be drafted. We haven't really had a draft since. We've had a lot of stop loss, but that's not the same thing. And I think I would say anything post 9/11 is a drastically different game.
Yeah.
Like that urge to serve. Now, if we have some, I think we would see more of it now with the Gen Z, Gen Alpha group, who don't, that don't have the same level of patriotism.
And they don't know, like they weren't alive for like 9/11 and stuff.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, it would take something else, but it would also take something, what's the right, something that matters to the country for them. Like, I don't think I even knew, like, the World Trade Center's all right, cool. Like, I don't know what they, like, I still have, like, they're a business.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't the World Trade Centers. It's just what they were called. Like, that's not where, like,
it was just like an office. It was a giant office building. But I mean, like, I think the devastation came from like the loss of thousands of lives.
But I think because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are so disenfranchised with the American mindset.
They grew up with the generation of, okay, hey, we went to go fight these wars because they had whatever. And then it turns out, they didn't have anything. And we're losing lives for whatever. We're having to kill kids. That's what they grew up.
To them, it's all
to
bad.
them, it's like, why would I go fight for this? And, so, just like you said, Garrett, something. It's gonna take something.
What was I? It's also that idea that like the rich don't have to do it, and the poor, are the ones that end up dying for it. So I don't know if Gen Z and Gen Alpha, like that's what I'm saying. It would have to be like DC was evaporated, or Nashville, Tennessee, home of country music,
right?
And something that means something
happens to the Jenners or Timothy, and they're gonna go fight back.
Maybe Mr. Beast gets taken by the Taliban. I don't know. Like he's doing all these like I think that's what it would take is some cultural icon getting killed because of senseless violence. I think that's what would get them involved. So, did I ask most inspiring scene?
No.
No.
Okay. Most inspiring scene. I'm watching things now. I find myself being very drawn back to the military whenever they're doing like the whole like putting on their uniform. Like there's something about it.
It's like the ritual of it.
The daily ritual, the importance of it, like what it represents. Like I think Iron Man Rhodey is like, when I wear this uniform, I know everybody it's got my back, but he's drunk, and it sounds so cheesy.
But like there's some truth to it.
But I think there is some truth to it. What I was saying was that like I think he kind of ruined that idea because he's torched. But like I think there is a lot that goes into it, like especially like some of the more dress uniforms, like like they suck putting on, they suck wearing, but they represent something so important. And so like those are the scenes that now I'm like I got a couple years left. I could go back. I'd have to shave my beard, but
most inspiring scene. Honestly, I was gonna say maybe like Zero Dark 30 when
she's torturing people.
No, I was not gonna say that, but I was gonna say like I find Zero Dark 30 really inspiring because our main character is female, and you don't see a lot of that in these like Memorial Month style movies that we watch. And so as being female, like I find that inspiring because I'm like, she is so badass. She is going up against these people these like middle-aged, men who, they think they know everything, and they're like very senior, sort of like in the ranks to her. But she's like, hey, I have something valuable to say, in the scenes where she was like drawing on her boss's office window, like, hey, it's been 108 days. Like, you haven't done anything, like get your ass in gear kind of thing. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And she was able to, because she was so freaking persistent, she was able to change things.
Would you find that movie to be more inspiring, as inspiring, or less inspiring as compared to TV shows like Special Forces, where those are normal women? Like we know it's a gimmick, but they are doing some incredible things. Have you seen the show Special Forces?
It's like a reality show.
It's a bunch of celebrities go through like
it's like Special Forces training, and there's like 3 guys from. There's a couple from like British Special Forces, and then there's usually a couple Americans who were like SEALs or recon Marines. Like So they've actually like been there, done that kind of thing. But they recruit all these kind of like B-list celebrities and stuff to come on the show, and
that seems pretty entertaining.
It is super entertaining. It is so entertaining.
Dwight Howard was on it.
It always it's always like retired like basketball and football players, people that were on like The Bachelor, Bachelorette.
What's her name from Even Stevens was on there?
Oh,
yeah.
Ren? Was that the sister's name?
Yes.
Okay.
She was on there. Like, there's just lots of people that you're
Girls
like,
from The Bachelor have been on it.
I forgot who they were, but like, glad they're having a good life or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go through this like Special Forces training, so they'll like rappel from like a cliff or whatever, or dangle from like
a helicopter,
dangle from a bridge, like dive into
you can't just
water.
go sign up a random bystander to go do that. They're not gonna okay.
Yeah. And so I find that like somewhat, I think I find like the grit that a lot of the people demonstrate really inspiring. Like Hannah Brown, she's probably my favorite Bachelorette from when I still watched those shows. Like I don't really watch them anymore because I feel like they've gotten repetitive.
She found love.
They found love. No, I think they've just gotten repetitive. But I thought her season was really like cool because like, you think of Hannah as like, oh, she just likes, like pretty dresses and like whatever. And just like posts on social media. She has such an easy life, but like she has like the determination to go through this whole thing and win it. So I think it's inspiring, but in a different way because it's in the context of like a sort of contrived reality TV show. But yeah, it's like inspiring, I guess, her determination. But I think doing something like for your country, like what Jessica Chastain's character did, is just so much more. It's so much more meaningful. It means something.
Fair.
It means something to more people. It might mean something to Hannah, and that's great. And it might inspire others, but I don't think it's necessarily like meaningful to like the entire United States.
That's fair. Before you tell yours, our friend from the Dragon Age podcast, Amanda, we were having a conversation a couple weeks ago about the movie The Substance. I said in my review that it was a waste of time of a movie. I stand by that because I think it's just.
Is this the one with like Mandy?
Yes, not Mandy Moore, but
not Mandy Moore.
No, definitely not Mandy Moore. But she made a good point. That
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore. Thank you. I knew the last name was Moore. Oh gosh.
And Dennis Quaid. Okay.
Oops.
Okay.
Yeah, she made a good point that for women watching it, it very much is representative of women having to keep that idea of like being beautiful while men can be absolute trash. And I was like, okay, that's fair. As a guy, I didn't see that, so. There's a little caveat to my short about it. I didn't personally enjoy it, but I can understand the symbology that was brought into it. And Amanda, thank you for enlightening me. So, most inspirational scene for you?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of good ones.
I know there is. Well, and I'm also, now that have had a minute to think about it, I'm going back on, was it inspirational or was it just emotional? And then that's what inspired me. So it's.
Did any of them make you want to enlist?
The American Sniper. Yeah, when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the sacrifice. I mean, you see Chris Kyle, he's an older guy, go through SEAL training. That's tough for anyone. And he's older and having to do it. And then just where there's sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs or whatever. And you're like, yeah, that hits a little different. But from, I guess, at the end of Hacksaw Ridge, when he's coming down and the troops, like we were talking about earlier, he fought the battle, basic training through everything. And then just to go save people's lives, seeing him be embraced by the troops.
Yeah.
That was, I thought that was cool because that hits everything. Like, okay, he did everything he signed up to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's in the trailer. Why haven't you attacked the hill? We're waiting on Dawes, sir. who's Private Dawes?
We're waiting on Dawes to finish his prayer.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it definitely that's definitely one of the good ones. So,
and then the other one that came to mind was when American Sniper Chris Kyle, the kid picks up, because it's at the beginning you see whatever's happening. Hey, I think this is going on. Well, then later on in the movie, it's don't do it, man. Just drop it. And like at this point, you see him just defeated. He's over it, and it's like, gosh, what these guys go through. So that was also just, you see him kind of hit the, I'm over this. I'm ready to go home and be with my family. And so that was inspiring too. Like, yeah.
Well, I think that's our episode for today. It's definitely a less upbeat episode. Yeah. It's important. Memorial Day is around the corner from the time that we're recording this. So my ask is that you guys spend some time with your family and just take a moment to thank those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. Because I got to be honest, America's pretty dope. Like we're a bunch of jackasses, but America as a whole is pretty dope. And
I think too, also like on Memorial Day, like you might be having your like cookout with family or whatever, but and it's like a happy day for y'all, but like just taking a minute to remember that Memorial Day is a happy
day for us for
exactly
what people had to sacrifice.
And Memorial Day is like we're honoring the sacrifices and the lives lost. It's not like Veterans Day, where we're maybe like thanking a veteran or something like that. It's a little more somber. So just remember that and, be grateful for everything you get.
Yeah. If anyone gets mad at you for celebrating on that day, just throw a punch them. It's fine.
Yeah.
You celebrate how you want. But yeah, Hallie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Our episode next month is going to be on Last of Us. So I have a thought, and we'll talk offline about that one, how we're going to do that. But yeah. So check out the website, check out the reviews, and thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Us moving into the house, I think that's the last move Kaylee and I will do together without hiring movers.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for us too. Yeah, we did a U-Haul and it was just like.
Oh no, that's what we did, and we were just coming from Austin, and it's still like.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you also don't realize like how much crap you have until you move
stuff.
it, and then you're like,
you just have stuff, and I'm like, yeah.
You're like, I need to get rid of some stuff. Like maybe minimalism is it?
I gotta be honest. The last move I did.
This might be a little high.
It's as low as it goes, my love.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice. Are you doing this one with us, Hallie?
Yeah.
You can shift to the middle.
Oh, that's perfect.
You all by yourself, man,
okay.
on that side. So, so going back to our moving conversation, I moved 4 apartments down in the same hall. And it took me 8 hours.
Because you did back in it.
Yes. Because it was literally like across the like elevator lobby. Like it was like 2 doors to the garbage chute and then 2 doors in.
No,
like,
and like you don't even think about it. And it's like, oh, what am I doing? I should have packed.
It was the day you were taking finals for your
I was taking like the comprehensive exam to graduate from grad school, and so I was no help because I was at school all day.
Yeah. I was just like, all right, never again. So, and then we moved you, and that was the last time. Like I've. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, you guys ready?
Yeah.